Imagine being born in 15th century China, the Ming Dynasty to be exact. Your family house smells of ink, sandalwood, and winter rain. Your father served the court with brush and bow. Your mother ran the household like a temple, quiet, disciplined, spotless. From the moment you could stand, you were taught to kneel. By age 3, you could recite the classic of filial piety. By age 5, you knew that laughter should never rise louder than a man's voice. By age 10, your handwriting was praised by your tutors, your posture by your grandmother. You learned to move like silk, to float, never step. You learned that beauty was not for joy, but for duty. The seasons turned quietly inside your family's walled garden. Plum blossoms in spring, lotus in summer, chrysanthemums in autumn, and frost in winter. You grew among them, delicate but disciplined, taught that beauty means endurance. When your brothers chased each other through the courtyard, you sit still and embroider. Red thread, steady hands, watching freedom pass like wind through bamboo. But just when you turn 15, the world shifts. An imperial decree arrives, sealed in yellow silk. The Zhuanzhou, the imperial selection of maidens, has begun. Across the empire, noble and official families gather their daughters, brush their hair, powder their faces, and pray to their ancestors. You are presented in a line of hundreds. Every girl between 13 and 16, dressed in pale gauze, her name stitched to her sleeve. Officials inspect faces and bodies as if choosing jade for their emperor's crown. Too tall? Dismissed. Too short? Dismissed. Too thin? Dismissed. Too plain? Dismissed. When your turn comes, you bow until your forehead reaches the marble. You do not tremble, eh? You are measured, examined, tested. Your hands are soft, your voice even, your eyes lowered at the perfect angle. Weeks pass and more girls are sent home. Those who remain, the chosen few, are taken to the capital for further scrutiny. You are tested again. Your skill with the chin, your embroidery, your calligraphy. Your composure when spoken to by high officials. They even make you walk the length of a hall. Silent judges watching your every step, counting beauty, balance, and obedience. Then comes the final day. Names are read aloud in the Hall of Bright Virtue. Yours is among them, and you got the grand prize. You have just been betrothed to the crown prince. Without your consent, obviously, but no one's complaining. Your mother weeps, her tears bright with pride and fear. Your father bows until his forehead strikes stone, blood blooming like a seal of royalty on the floor. You stand behind them, spine straight, the edges of your sleeves trembling like wings in the wind. You already know what no one dares to speak aloud. Your life is no longer your own. You will marry the crown prince, not because he loves you, but because the empire needed a bride. And you were the quietest, most perfect offering it could find. You meet the crown prince in a garden of red maples and carved jade bridges. He is older, about 25 or so. You don't ask though, he smiles. Not the cold ceremonial kind, but something real. For a moment, you believe the stories that heaven tears souls as neatly as it arranges stars. He speaks gently, asks if you like poetry, and you think perhaps this won't be so terrible. You return home with your pulse trembling like silk in the wind. The wedding comes months later, a storm of gold and incense. The forbidden city swallows you whole, its corridors too vast, its silences too sharp. Your new robes weigh as much as armor. Every bow, every glance must be perfect. You smile until your cheeks ache, but your voice must always remain calm, measured, obedient. At first, the crown prince visits your chambers often. He laughs, asks for music, tells you of his lessons in governance. You play the zither for him, and he watches you the way a poet watches the moon. You almost believe you are loved. Well, for 5 years after the marriage, you believe so. Then comes tragedy, or fortune, depending on who's telling the story. The emperor joins his ancestors, and the crown prince ascends the throne, and the distance between you multiplies overnight. He becomes the Son of Heaven, and you, his shadow in gold. You sit above 10,000 women, yet cannot choose your own breakfast. Every step echoes with scrutiny. Every servant's glance feels like a report. You sleep beside a god, but wake beside a stranger. In your dreams, you still hear your father's voice. Stillness is survival. And so, you learn to smile and not to breathe too deeply. At first, things don't change too much. Well, except the emperor visits you less now. He tells you ruling is exhausting, that his time belongs to the state. You tell yourself that's true, that this is your contribution. So you accept and take on your role as Empress proper. You learn the rhythm of palace life. Endless petitions from attendants, reports from eunuchs, scrolls upon scrolls of household ledgers. You oversee the food stores, the linen accounts, the stipends of hundreds of palace women. You command entire regiments of eunuchs and handmaidens with a nod, a look, a flick of your sleeve. Your word decides what is served at the emperor's table, and whether a servant's mistake ends in dismissal or in blood. But soon, the cracks appear. You hear whispers that he is taking a concubine, then another. You tell yourself it is duty, not desire, that the empire needs heirs, not fidelity. You even help select the gifts. Smile through the introductions, nod at the rituals. Then he takes more. One by one, their laughter spilling into corridors that were once yours. When a new concubine is chosen, it is you who ensures her entry follows proper order. Only you enter the forbidden city through the main gate. The rest come to the side, bowing as they pass your threshold. You receive them formally, smile as they kneel, and gift them silk, hairpins, and words of welcome. To the court, it is virtue. To you, it is surrender. One woman after another, folded into the same gilded cage. Still, you endure. You host the New Year right. You discipline concubines who forget their place. Some are flogged, others demoted, their stipends cut in half. They learn to bow again. You continue your duties, even when the palace grows colder than marble. And when your daughter is born, you think it might change something, that perhaps love will return if it ever was present. But when a eunuch brings a written blessing, instead of the emperor himself, you read it until the ink blurs from your tears. Then you rise, as always, and keep walking, because the mother of the nation does not break. She endures. Years pass. You're 25 when you bear a son. This time, he comes in person, just once. He holds the child, smiles, that rare sunlit smile you once lived for, then leaves before the candle burns out. After that, nothing. No summons, no messages, only silence, the kind that hums in the walls of the harem, where women bloom, fade, and are forgotten in the span of a season. You are still the empress of all under heaven, but heaven no longer looks your way. But just when you thought things couldn't get worse, she arrives, like spring after a long winter. Young, radiant, barely 20. Her robes outshine yours, and her laughter trails behind the emperor like perfume. Even the eunuchs bow deeper when she passes. The emperor calls her his solace. The court calls her His Majesty's favorite. You call her Danger. She isn't a new concubine, far from it. You've known her since she was 16 when she first arrived. You sent her silks, smiled at her greetings, even praised her embroidery when the other concubines looked on. But now, her shadow stretches across every corridor. You hear that she's behind most of the troubles. Poisoned wines, food, rumors, you name it. She's probably involved. You'd have punished her, but there's no evidence, and she has the emperor's favor. And somehow, you feel for her, since it seems losing her daughter made her this way. So, you just watch. Then one morning, the bells ring. She has given birth to a son. The palace bursts into celebration. Drums, lanterns, endless congratulations. You smile too, because that is what the empress must do. But beneath your jeweled crown, your thoughts are already moving. You know what happens when a favored concubine bears a son. History has written it too many times. Your own child, your little boy, with his father's eyes, suddenly becomes a threat. So you begin to move quietly. A few gifts, 2 trusted ministers, a word slipped to loyal eunuchs. You don't call it plotting. No, plotting is what they'll accuse you of later. You call it protecting your son. And when you kneel at the ancestral altar that night, the incense smoke stings your eyes. Not from grief, but from fear. You've just turned 32 when your biggest fear happens. It happens on a night meant for celebration. Lanterns glow like captured moons. Musicians play soft enough to make envy sound sweet. Then your son collapses. A rice cake slips from his hand. The physicians rush in. They say it's spoiled food, maybe bad luck. You nod. You've learned to nod. But inside, something cold settles in your stomach. Spoiled food doesn't leave a boy gasping for air. Spoiled food doesn't send his lips blue. The palace whispers of ghosts, hungry spirits haunting the banquet hall. But you know better. It isn't ghosts. It's her. Your rival with a soft voice and a sharper hunger. The kind that cuts through silk and lineage alike. You think of striking back, of calling in debts, of reminding everyone who you are. But then you remember. When an empress fights a favorite, the favorite wins. Every single time. So you stay quiet. You pray louder. You smile wider. You double your offerings at the temple. You light more incense, not for mercy, but for patience. Your son recovers, but slower than the rumors. The emperor never asks what happened. That's when you learn the cruelest rule of the palace. It's not the poison that kills you. It's the silence that follows. So you stay quiet while your prayers grow longer. Your heart grows smaller. Years pass like shadows sliding over marble. Your son becomes a man. You aren't close to him as you were to your father. You oversaw his education. You even oversaw every prince's education. But you weren't involved in the details. Those were left to the wet nurses, palace maids, eunuchs, and tutors. He's learned that in this palace, smiles can kill faster than swords. So now he's careful with his words and cautious with his loyalties. His elder sister has been married off to the Kong family, descendants of Confucius. You hope they will assist your son when the time comes. You grow older, but not gracefully. You're 45 now. The rouge can't hide the lines, and the mirrors are less forgiving than couriers. Your rival, once delicate as spring blossom, now carries herself like a queen in all but name. Her son walks beside the emperor in court. Yours walks behind. You still attend rituals. You still bow. Every movement precise. Every glance measured. But a ghost of the woman who once believed she was chosen by heaven. The emperor hasn't spoken your name in years. You're not sure he even remembers it, and yet you wait. Because in the Forbidden City, a summons from the Dragon Throne is either salvation or execution. You stop dreaming of freedom. You stop dreaming at all. Now, you only pray that when your son inherits your silence, he survives it. But things don't always go the way we hope. 'Cause when tragedy strikes, it comes in droves. You learn it in a stuttering stream of whispers. A minister's napkin folded 2 ways. A eunuch who won't meet your eye. An official carriage that arrives late with a different seal. They're moving to replace your son as crown prince with the rival's boy. They speak of petitions and prophecies. You hear the soft rustle of your son's future being unstitched. You realize waiting is no longer an option. After all, you know what happens to a crown prince that is demoted? You take what levers you still hold. The kitchen's answered to you. The household still turns at your command. Quietly, over weeks and then months, you press favors. Fold silver into palms and call in the few cooks who have always shown you loyalty. Their bowls, their ladles, the careful timing of courses become your instruments. Not with recipes or measurements, but with a slow, hidden agency only the inner court understands. You eat from the same plates. You will not watch your son die while you live. You keep your son away from the palace foods. Parcels smuggled from your father's house, wrapped in cloth, guarded by a single maid you trust. He eats your father's bread, not the palace's. He does not go near the great table. The emperor, weakened by years and age, falls first. Fever comes, then fits. Ministers bicker, eunuchs run. This was your plan all along. Dosage of mercury over time. The court prays and murmurs. You know the emperor's time is limited, so you isolate him from everyone, especially your rival. Then you send your informants to spread rumors that she is a dark cloud in the Forbidden City. You tell the other concubines to spread rumors that she is behind every assassination and the emperor's poor health. They are happy to oblige, since they also hate her. Before long, the emperor becomes paranoid and banishes her to a secluded quarters. He hopes this will cure him. You know it won't, and just like clockwork, he dies weeks later. You think it's over, that you've won. Then a sealed edict arrives, lacquered, bright as a wound. You're told it's the emperor's dying order. It says, "Let my empress and woman accompany me in death." The ministers call it honor. The palace rehearses the rites. You hold the paper and know the truth. He knew it was you. He even ordered that you specifically should be buried together with him. You bought a future for your son at a price that will never be forgiven. You have traded your life for his safety, and the ledger has been closed with blood and silence. Palace attendants come the next day at dawn, soft-footed and expressionless. You spoke to your son the night before. You tell him everything. Tell him that you're only paying for your sins against the heaven. You assure him that his position is all but guaranteed. But to still be ruthless to his rivals, your attendants do not meet your eyes when they lift the robes. Red silk, gold-threaded phoenixes, the same patterns you wore on your wedding day. They tell you the concubines have been hanged. You nod. You realize you don't feel any different with the news. You think of your slain rival. Would she have also faced the same fate without you? It is at that moment you realize that it didn't matter what you both did. Your fates were sealed from the first day. The first day you all entered the Forbidden City, so you let them dress you, layer by layer, until the weight feels almost comforting. The crown presses against your skull. The pins bite into your scalp. You do not flinch. They tell you the carriage is ready. You nod again. You've walked this path before. For coronations, for festivals, for ceremonies where you smiled and bowed and played your part. This is just one more. The last one. The tomb is quiet, perfumed with sandalwood, and the faint tang of jade. You kneel as they read the edict aloud, voice trembling in the echo. You do not hear the words anymore. You are thinking of your son, his face harder, his eyes carrying the pieces of your sacrifice. You also think of your brother chasing fireflies, your mother's hands brushing your hair, the first spring air that ever touched your face beyond palace walls. For a moment, you almost remember what freedom smelled like. Then the door slides shut. No screams, no struggle, just silence. When the histories are written, they will call you loyal, dignified, a model of virtue. But you know the truth. You were never loyal, never pure. Only trapped, exquisitely beneath layers of silk and expectation. A queen entombed in beauty, remembered for obedience, not survival. Subscribe to Chronicle Studio for more.